ending 1 minute at a time.
I was blind, but now I see.
Working jobs we hate, so we buy shit we don't need.
Ideas are brittle.
If you had one shot, everything I'd ever read, heard, seen was now organized and available.
Now you fucking khakis.
Life moves pretty fast.
The Biohacking Secret Show.
Bernd Stoesslein, welcome to the Biohacking Secret Show.
Anthony, thank you very much for inviting me.
I'm excited to talk. You have a wide array of experience, from magazine covers to Krav Maga, track and field, working with the late Charles Poliquin, and helping people, good start, to detoxify light and heavy metals, and utilizing some pretty exciting and innovative technologies to do so. How did you get into the world of biohacking, free thinking, optimizing health and human performance?
Well, that's a good question I get asked all the time, and it's not that easy to answer it with just one question. So I think I have always been what you would call in English some kind of troubleshooter. So I was always the one who did not what everything else did. And and from early age on, so from kindergarten age on, let's say 3, something like that, I just didn't want to believe all those, let's call it, narratives people told me about God or whatsoever. And maybe it is some innate whatsoever, I cannot name it. So there was no actual thing that happened or occurred where I can say, okay, due to that, I started questioning. But in a nutshell, it started with the financial industry. I started to question, and then everything came up. But from a sporting background, I've always been into sports since the age of 3. And so I don't know a life without sports. So
yeah, I grew up playing sports all of my life. My mom got me into them when I was very young. I was actually quite bad at sports when I was like 5, 6 years old. And then I just stuck with it long enough and had a lot of determination to the point that I started getting better just because I practiced more than the other kids, but not because I was particularly fast or explosive or athletic. And I've sort of always had this mind where I liked testing new technologies and things that I thought might be able to close the perceived gap between me and the other kids. Even in college, I remember walking around with these things that I would strap to my shoes. I think they were called jump soles. You'd strap them to your shoes and they would put all of the weight into the balls of your feet, and I'd be doing like plyometrics and jump rope and different things. And people would look at me like I was a lunatic. But I've always had that type of mind as well. Where like, what can I do to catch me up to these other kids who are better than I am? Were you an athletically gifted kid, or did you have to work pretty hard at it?
Well, depends on the sports. I've been doing as a kid over a decade gymnastics, so I was pretty good at that. And I did some track and field, and I didn't like that so much because I've always hated doing cardio. Yeah. So I'm more of a phosphagen-driven organism, let's call it that. I always tell people I have a lot of power and strength, but my tank is very small. So I'm when I'm lifting weights, for example, I don't go for heavy, great volume, let's say 15, 25 or something that I stick to. I think I enjoy everything between 1 and let's say 8 reps or so. Right. So maybe I have a genetic disposition more to type 2 muscle fibers. So this is why I entered the world into bodybuilding. So I would not consider me a bodybuilder anymore because I don't carry that much muscle mass anymore. I was pretty good at that. So in terms of that, it was easy for me to gain muscle mass. And so maybe, who knows? And the sports I did or do, I was good, but I think it is, you choose things you have a kind of position or predisposition to. So I think this is the kind it works where you will never find a power lifter doing a marathon. Okay, maybe there is one just because they're curious, but they will never enjoy it, and vice versa.
Right. So when you were doing bodybuilding with a proclivity towards, you mentioned like your phosphagen system. So we're talking about like the energy systems. You got like your aerobic, anaerobic, and then like your creatine phosphate system. You're more of like a strength and power guy. Did you find it difficult to lean out and maintain low body fat with how much you hated cardio?
Yes, correct. But I'm the type of guy, you must know, I don't care about that, because when I have a goal, I do it. So if I would find out that someone says, hey, you got to eat old used tires because they're super healthy and they give you a 25-inch arm, I would eat them. So that's my approach. So I don't really care. So I hated cardio, but I knew that I was mandatory to do it, to lean out, and I just did it. So I don't see the sense. Yeah,
I respect that mentality. I've sort of been the same way for most of my life. And when I think back to like, where did that come from? I'm not sure. I may have always had it. I've always been a little bit of, I mean this in the best sense of the word, like a little bit of a psycho. Like I'm going to do everything I can to try to achieve the intended outcome. Was this something that you had to train in yourself? Is it the way that you were born? Did you have siblings that pushed you? How did you get that, like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes mentality?
Well, I was hard to answer. So, but I always tell people I'm not someone who people should orient to be in terms of that, because I am willing, and I know that it takes that you have to sacrifice things for that. So let's take this an example. Will you lose friends? For sure, probably. Will they accept what you do no matter what it is? Probably not. But you ultimately have to come to a point in your life where you must realize that you cannot live for someone else. So if you never split the difference, that's the same. You cannot, if you move towards someone else, and if you don't learn to say, if you say yes to everything, you have not learned to say no. And this is really important, because then if you say yes to someone else, you ultimately say no to yourself. So, and then after years or decades, you say, well, it was really good that I went to this party and did not do my cardio for the show I was preparing for, or something like that. So it could be, just to name an example. So you must think in priorities. What's your priority? So do you want to sit on the couch being a couch potato? Doesn't make you a bad person, but you cannot sit on the couch and say, well, I could have those abs if I would work out. No, that's why you're sitting on the couch and not being in the gym and working your ass off. So sorry for the language, but I don't think there's such thing as a discipline. As Charles said, it's a myth. You have priorities, and you must say what is more important: false friends, false relationships, and whatsoever. I think people who love you, like you, they will stick to you. They will like you, although they know how you are. And if not, it is, so what? So you have to leave them behind. And you ultimately have to sacrifice something when you're heading to a goal. So no matter what it is.
So you've just sort of applied the common sense that we all have a limited amount of time, 24 hours in a day. You take out the amount of time that we need to sleep, which is for some people more if you're training hard. And the fact that, like, yeah, if you want to make an omelet, you've got to crack a few eggs. And then you mentioned Charles Poliquin, who was a mentor of yours, and he believed that discipline was a myth. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's what I just said. He said, you ultimately have to decide what you want. And he said, life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. And so you, in terms of karma, let's say it, subsumize it as karma, you must decide what you get, what you give. If maybe you are talented and gifted, but if someone works really hard, he will always outwork you unless you're talented, gifted, and work hard. So this is the joker. And yeah, I mean, it's a simple way of approaching things. I mean, you just have to figure out what you want. Do you want to hang out with your friends, get drunk, booze around, whore around, whatsoever? I mean, it is important to have fun in life, sure, but as Arnold said, Schwarzenegger, someone at the same time is working hard, and it's probably not you because you're sitting on the couch. And then when you sit on the couch, okay, stick to it and say, hey, I'm more of a couch potato. I have this, how do you call this? The dad body, not
dad, D-A-D, like a father body.
Correct. So this is the new stuff, how you want to look like. Hey, it doesn't make you a bad person. You can look as you want, but don't say, in Germany, it's so, in Germany, people are, when they're fat, they're sitting on the couch and they're watching soccer, where people earn, I don't know, 50 million euros a year for kicking a ball around. And they say, well, come on, run, do something for your money. And so on. I say, hey, there's a reason why you are not on the field running behind or in front of this ball. Yeah. And you're sitting on the couch. So there's a reason for that. And so it's all about your mindset. Mm-hmm. Do you have a growth mindset or do you have a fixed mindset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to dig into mindset a little bit more, because everything that's been taking place in the world for the past, let's call it 6-7 months, it's shown me that I was giving many people more credit than they deserved. I thought a lot of men, especially, were more mentally tough than they are. And it's just shown me how many people are not exercising critical thinking abilities, common sense. I feel like common sense has become uncommon. And is this something that you're experiencing in your part of the world as well? Or is this just an issue, an epidemic that we're facing in the United States?
Well, to use the correct term they use is in pandemic. So there's a difference between an epidemic and a pandemic, but I have no problem.
The epidemic that I was referring to was the lack of masculinity, critical thinking skills. I get it. Virus.
I get it. So, but I just wanted to add, so I don't have a problem calling it a plandemic.
I agree.
And the thing is, I absolutely agree. And the thing is, Anthony, with all that stuff that's going on, the problem is we are living in a world right now that has come to a point where everybody is offended of everything. So, and a couple of years ago, there was a thing called joke. So we made jokes. To the listeners who don't remember what a joke was, so we said funny things about people. So, but it had about everyone. Mm-hmm. Doesn't depend what race, what color, what gender, whatsoever. And I recently I will answer your questions, Joe, but I have to circle around this topic. I saw a meme that said, nowadays, genders is like the Twin Towers. There used to be both. Now there's only one, and it's delicate to talk about it. And so that's pretty much the thing we live in. So we have all that stuff that's going on, and everybody is a winner. Everybody is a champ. So everybody gets a trophy for just participating in championships. And here in Germany, for example, when kids play a game like soccer, they don't count the goals and stuff like that. You're a hero, you're great, you get super grades for doing shitty stuff. And I think that's where it all started, because you cannot say, okay, I don't judge you as a person, I just judge what you did in a certain sport or in economics or whatsoever. And now people have conditioned themselves to just believe everything they're told to. So there's a narrative in the mainstream medias, or of course at the alternative medias too, because lots of them are paid opposition, in my point. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the point. People are so so afraid of saying something that could offend someone that they rather stick to the official narrative, not to get any trouble, because maybe they're a shop owner or they have a web presence or whatsoever. They get lawsuits, they get sued, they get whatsoever, and they're afraid of that. And that's ultimately, I think, the goal, because if someone is in a state of fear, you're in a parasympathetic state, and then you can be controlled much more easily because you're into this fight or flight mode. And that's why you say, I shit my pants due to fear. Yeah, because you're not thinking, you're just trying to fight or to run away. All the blood is rushing into your muscles to fight, to defend yourself, or to move away. Mm-hmm. So, and it is the combination of a lot of things. I don't know if this answered your question, but it's so wide topic, and it cannot be. Everything is intertwined, and we can dig in all those things, so people get a bigger picture to start questioning what they see. And Anthony, I think I grew up. I think I was born in '86, so I'm probably the last generation that grew up without an internet. I mean, there was internet, but it was super expensive, and there was nothing to do on the internet because it took 10 minutes to load a page. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy for that, because people are how is that saying? They are overnewsed but underinformed. Mm-hmm. That means they are bombarded in visually with sound.
It's on the television, it's in social media. We're stimulated. We've got it coming at us through our devices, through other people that have gotten it from their devices, and it's just relentless. And I think what you brought up some great points there, which is and it's important for people to recognize this. There's only a few people that control a lot of the media. And, you know, if you wanted to research this, it's pretty easy to do so, especially using less censored search engines like Dissenter, DuckDuckGo, etc. You're not going to get as accurate of information from Google. But what we have going on is this, it's an intent to keep people in a state of fear so that their critical thinking ability is compromised. And if everyone is hypersensitive and easily offended, and it kind of becomes like people start policing themselves, and what gets compromised is truth. You know, if you're listening to this and you are not clear in what you believe to be true, that doesn't mean you need to be right. But you want to know, what do you stand for? What are you against? What are you willing to die for? What is your truth? Do you speak your truth, or do you cuck because you're afraid you might piss someone off? Do you wear a mask because you're afraid you might make someone uncomfortable when you know it's bullshit? That is a problem, and that is what keeps us trapped in this current evolution. And if we want to step forward, we need to start speaking our truth. We need to get clear on what we believe, and we need to stop being so damn concerned about pissing people off.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I think it was Mark Twain, by the way, whose actual name is Samuel Clemens, who said people rather believe a lie or stick to a lie than they believe that someone lied to them. And so this is a pretty good explanation to what's going on today. And it is the climax what we're seeing right now. I cannot already see where it's heading, but it all started way before. And the problem is that, as you said, let's think of that. When you live in a democracy, you should have the right for freedom of speech. And freedom of speech for me means, when I go to the marketplace and say, okay, I think the earth is flat or whatsoever, and someone said, hey, this is total bullshit, I still would have the right to say that without fearing jurisdictional issues that I said you are put to jail or you have to pay some fines or whatsoever. So, but this is not what's happening, especially in Germany, I think, or in the whole world. I think to make it clear and to name it, I think we are absolutely heading towards a fascistic dystopia.
I agree. And for those of you listening who may have heard the term flat Earth and just gone, oh, come on. Now, I don't believe
I just popped out something. So.
Right. So I'm going to say this, just because we went there. If you think about the fact that, or the common narrative that the Earth is a spinning ball in space, right? It doesn't really make sense, especially when you look at so if you were to look at the narrative that is perpetrated, if you were to Google search, how much does the curvature of the Earth take place over a mile? It's roughly like 8 inches or 8 inches per mile squared or something like that. So over something like 1,000 miles, you guys can do the math on your calculators, but it would be a very, very substantial drop. Well, if you look at the Great Lakes and the elevation that takes place over the Great Lakes, it's almost exactly the same for 1,000 miles. That would not be physically possible if the Earth was a spinning globe in space. Then you also take into account, all right, well, how if the Earth is spinning as fast as they say it is, how does the air maintain? Is it friction? It doesn't make any sense, guys. Just think about it. Like, it's nonsense.
How does the water stick to a ball? I mean, I didn't want to.
Let's go there. Why not? You mentioned it, so we might as well go there. Let's open up our minds a little bit. Let's dig.
Cool. So I use those examples to make a point, because people will. I hopefully think about it. And before we dig into this, I want to say this is exactly what happens, because people have been indoctrinated over hundreds of years of some kind of narrative. For example, you mentioned that, so they believe a narrative. You can tell them, yeah, this is the Earth is this, and you have satellites everywhere, and we went to the moon. Yeah, and in '69, what? And you called the moon from a landline? Ha ha ha. So okay, but but the thing is, you have to ask questions. With the flat Earth, the thing is, you can ask. So why are the
and I want to jump in here for 1 sec. Please continue in a sec. But I don't even like using the term flat Earth, because I don't think it's flat either. And I think a lot of the people pushing these narratives want to create this binary. They want to create like the people who think it's a globe and then flat earthers. I don't think it's a flat Earth, and I know it's not a spinning ball in space. I think it's like a realm, And I'm not saying I know what it is, but it certainly is not a ball spinning through space.
And that's a very important point. And that's it, Anthony. You and I probably don't know what it is, but we see the narrative and we say, okay, when I open the window, I can see things. And those things do not correlate with lots of official narratives, I'm told. So, okay, I can believe what I see, or I can believe the shit someone's telling me. So, and as you said, so it's basic physics. So first of all, how can a space shuttle fly in a what's it called in English? When you don't have air. There is
vacuum.
That's the same. Okay, in a vacuum. So how does the engine start if there is no oxygen to start? Yeah. So, and all those things. And in school, I've learned that a vacuum cannot exist. Yeah, if you don't have a special layer. So, for example, I have a vacuum mixer that mixes in a vacuum. So you have a rubber lid around it to create a layer outside and inside, so the air can be pumped out. So it is impossible that you just say, okay, it's less and less oxygen, and then on this mystical threshold, you have no air. So how does it work? And where are all those satellites? And I mean, I agree, it's probably not a spinning ball in some thing they call the universe. Maybe it's flat, maybe it's an inner Earth, it's a cell Earth. I don't know, but can't stick to this ridiculous, childish thing. But think of that. What is one of the first things a child learns about the solar system? It's on the, when you buy an iPhone, it's on the first on the screensaver. It is the spinning ball. It's the narrative you get all the time.
It's Universal Studios. It's at the beginning of so many movies.
Correct. And then you see those people flying in a space station where you see cables sticking out everywhere. Have you ever bought a car? Every engineer who would deliver something like that they would slap that around your face. A cable here, a cable there. You can stumble over everything. You can choke yourself. And that in a spinning station that's going with 300,000 miles an hour. Come on.
And imagine like what it would be like for snipers and sharpshooters if the Earth was spinning. They'd be like, all right, so how do we correct? And then you say, well, no, it's because there's the ozone and the vacuum is outside. Okay, so the air's all spinning with us because of how, there's a pretty interesting. I was going to post it and I didn't. I created it and I just didn't want to deal with a whole bunch of Karens. But if you were to look at like the Great Lakes system profile, right, and just think about this, guys. I'm going to say it again. The Earth is not literally flat. I think that there's something to that where they want to kind of make people look crazy and put people in like, you believe it's a spinning ball or you believe it's flat. It's not. But if you think about this, if large bodies of water are parallel to the same datum line over thousands of miles, it's not a globe. It's a realm. It's a relatively level plane. And like, if it truly was changing at, 8 inches per mile over 1,000 miles, it would be hundreds of feet that we're talking about. And the Great Lakes from Niagara Falls to Lake Erie to Lake Michigan to Lake Huron to Lake Superior, they're all relatively at the same datum line. So we're just giving people a little nugget that they could run with if they want. They don't have to believe us, but we're encouraging true free thinking here, not the use of the words without the actual act.
Correct. And not being a parrot and just repeating stuff you heard. Use your brain if you have still some brain cells left. So people say just to add one thing is when if the Earth would flat, I could see to China. No, you cannot even see the end of a hallway. This is called perspective. So, and if you buy a 2,000-fold magnifying telescope or whatsoever, you can still see this shit. Yeah, and just wanted to add that. So, but this is with everything. So people tell you a narrative, then say, oh, there's something like climate change. First of all, what is a climate?
Yeah, that's another one.
There is weather and there's, I'm just pulling out some stuff. So when I say, it's so dangerous. In Germany now, they prohibit to drive a diesel. So, and they say, no, it's killing. Have you ever been on a highway? They are spraying salt in the winter and there are cars running over it and there's grass growing on it everywhere. I mean, you're trying to kill those plants. If this would be so dangerous, there would be no plants in a let's say 5 meters. I don't know what is in foot. So left and right from the highway. So, but there's the plants are growing like weed, like nothing. So I mean. Start thinking, people. I don't say the Earth is this and this is that. So I just say use your own brain. Decalcify your pineal gland. So don't drink that fucking and eat this fucking fluoride shit. And I think this is probably more an issue in the US where you have, at least I was told, fluoride in the tap water. Buddy.
Yeah.
But we have it.
It's good for our teeth.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, because it makes them hard. So, and it's another narrative, and nobody tells you that it was clarified as a fighting toxin from CIA up into the 1970s, something like that was declared. And so now it is good for your teeth. Sure, the dosage makes the poison. So this is another one. And so I'm coming up with this not just to pull out some random stuff, but to make a point. So you cannot question things if you're physically, spiritually, and mentally not able to do that. So you must reach that point.
What's up, guys? Anthony DiClemente here, and this message is brought to you by Optimizers. So a few years ago, I was in a frustrating situation. After just about every meal, I would experience gas, bloating, stomach distension, constipation, even diarrhea. And this 3-month gut reset protocol completely changed the game. I'd tried a ton of things. Nothing had really worked that well until I did this. So what I did was I combined Masszymes, Optimizer's enzyme formulation that helps to break down protein and increase your own immune system's effectiveness, with their probiotic at a specific dosage of 10 capsules of Masszymes with 5 capsules of the P3OM probiotic, taken in the morning on an empty stomach and then at night on an empty stomach. And right away, I started seeing some positive improvements. Then I added another 6 capsules of the Masszymes and 3 capsules of the P3OM probiotic before each meal. And a few months of that, specifically 3 months, 9 bottles worth, my gut was almost completely fixed. Throwing a little bit of gasoline on the fire, I made sure to fast for 14 to 16 hours between dinner and my first meal the next day to increase autophagy, upregulate the immune system, and help clear out some of the other viruses, bacteria, even parasites that can inhabit our gut. And that made a massive difference for me. And if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, it will probably make a massive difference for you. So if you guys want to check out that gut reset protocol, it requires 9 bottles of the Masszymes, 9 bottles of the P3OM, and you can get it at buyoptimizers.com/biohacks. We've got all the discount codes already applied and put together a nice way for you guys to save on the package when you go there. That's BIOPTIMIZERS.com/biohacks, BIOHACKS, and you'll see the 3-month gut reset protocol that includes 9 bottles of Masszymes and 9 bottles of P3OM. Take it as recommended, and you will see a huge improvement in your gut health. Check it out.
This whole biohacking space, it not only requires a clean vessel, mentally, physically, spiritually, alignment of that vessel. It requires all of those things combined with a willingness to seek truth. And many of the things that we've been led to believe are, conspiracy theories. Some of them are ridiculous, right? But then some of them deserve a little bit more inspection rather than just dismissing them because we've been told the same thing, even if it is complete nonsense since we were a child. So let's kind of take this a little bit into how people can do some of these things, right? How does someone go about starting to decalcify their pineal gland? Drinking clean water. We can start there, right? Getting yourself a reverse osmosis water filter like an AquaTrue or, Berkey's are all right, and or at least not putting fluoride in your body. No neurotoxin. Bernd, what are some of the other things that people who want to truly see, as I tap my forehead, referring to our first eye? What are some things that people who truly want to see can do to decalcify their pineal gland and start to have this pursuit of truth in their health and performance?
Mm-hmm. So. Well, when I get asked that question, I say, okay, let's stick to physical stuff, because when people are not up to this spiritual things, they have a hard times to deal with that. So, but we can think of it as just school medicine stuff. So the pineal gland is a gland in your brain, and it is, besides that spiritual thing, it has the structure of an eye. So from a biological point of view, it is a rudimentary eye. So it has no cones and what's in English? Cone and the others where you can use
retina?
In your eye you have cones, and you have those, the ones you use for color vision, and the others are for black and white. So it doesn't matter. So cones and rods. So and so it's not that developed like your physical eyes, but it is used for your circadian rhythm. So that means if your pineal gland is decalcify. That means it has accumulated a lot of calcium, like you have in your other joints, for example, due to excessive metabolic accumulation, calcium and stuff like that. It just gets accumulated because you have wear and tear when you're human and you're moving around. So your circadian rhythm might be disrupted. So if the pineal gland is it is malfunctioning, you have hard times maybe falling asleep, you're not producing enough melatonin, which is a hormone that is secreted to let you fall asleep. So then you have, and all those hormones, by the way, are not to be, you cannot look at them through a straw. You must see the bigger picture. If you have too much of one thing, you have too less of another thing. It's like an orchestra. So to play, it must be perfect. So then maybe if you don't have enough melatonin, you might have too much cortisol in the morning when you wake up, and so on and so on. So this is a bit of, in a nutshell, to have an approach from a physical point of view. So then what I would do is quit consuming fluoride. So fluoride in the tap water, as you said, and in the toothbrush. These are the two biggest
toothpaste.
sources. Yeah, correct. So, and by the way, children's toothpaste, it's labeled that children should not swallow it. So it is okay to brush your teeth, but it should not swallow it. So, and people say, yeah, it's just a dose. Yeah, but if you brush your teeth over decades with a little bit,
no, it makes a big difference, guys. Yeah. Like, I have here, for example, I have a box of Troscriptions, blue cannatine Troscriptions. This is a trioche, which is a lozenge that contains a tiny bit of nicotine, CBD, caffeine, and it's used, and methylene blue. And it's used as a nootropic for cognitive enhancement, right? So if I have a lot of work to do, or I'm giving a speech, I'll take one of those, and I find that I have better cognitive performance. My brain works better. Well, you hold this in your mouth, in between your gums and your cheek, or you put it under your tongue, because that gets it right into the bloodstream. You don't even swallow it. It works better if you just hold it in your mouth and let it absorb directly into your bloodstream. When you're using toothpaste with fluoride, that is exactly what's happening. It absorbs better if you don't swallow it. So they'll tell you not to swallow it, but make no mistake, if you have toothpaste with fluoride in it, it's going into your blood and probably into your pineal gland.
Correct. So it is the pineal gland. I don't know why. I cannot explain you why, but the calcium will accumulate, especially in your pineal gland. So yeah, and then it is ultimately what I call lifestyle choices. So you got to pay attention what you put in there and what's coming out of there in terms of how you speak. So
you pointed to your mouth, what you put in there, meaning like the food you eat, the things you drink, etc., and then what comes out of there, how you speak, the words, your beliefs, the things that you speak into existence, and the frequencies of those words and how that impacts us internally.
Correct. And that's great, as you said, frequency, because everything is a frequency and has vibration. And that's leads us to the next point, which are electrolytes. So what is an electrolyte? So electro means that it is electrical, and the suffix light comes from Latin lucis, which means to dissolve. So it is actually means that something electrical is solved in you. So we are actually walking water piles, but water alone the current does not flow in water alone. So you need electrolytes. So a distilled water, for example, it does not able current to flow. So, and this is
why we need to remineralize, reverse osmosis, and distilled water. If you're drinking that, you can find yourself deficient in these electrolytes and trace elements.
and you might die. You can do the calculation depending on your body weight, how much distilled water you can drink before dying. Because what happens is you're flushing out your electrolytes, and now you can say, okay, I drink a Gatorade or something. And no, it's not working that way. Because to make a long story short and make it very simple, very, very simple, you have a cell, and the cell has a intracellular milieu, and there's fluid and electrolytes within a cell. And you have fluid in the extracellular milieu, which is outside of the cell. And so the most prominent example is this, in English, it's called potassium. Yeah, potassium and what is it, salt?
Sodium potassium pump.
Sodium, okay, sodium potassium pump. So this is the most prominent example. So you have ion channels, and something, to make it very simple, is pumped out and something is going in. So, and you need that for everything, for you from thinking to blinking. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have enough of those electrolytes, everything will be disrupted. So maybe you're eating calories. So you're drinking your super gulp, and you're literally drinking thousands of calories just by drinking sugary beverages, and you're eating your hamburgers and stuff like that. So, but from a chemical point, this is all carbon. So it doesn't matter if it's protein, carbohydrates, or fat. So it's a carbon structure, basically, and you're eating and you're getting energy in terms of calories, but it's not electrolytes. And the interesting thing is, if you burn a human body, everything that will be left beside from ashes is minerals. So, and you can compress them and make a diamond out of them, for example. So some people do that. You probably have heard of that. So it's actually the minerals and electrolytes that are left when you burn. So think of that. Every chemical reaction in the body needs, for example, zinc. So that means when you're deficient in zinc, you're probably deficient in everything else too. So it is not about eating, getting your macronutrients in. You have to think of those micronutrients, because if you're deficient, your for example, neuromuscular control does not work anymore. So you cannot grab or you cannot think, and you're more prone to diseases like Alzheimer's and the other stuff like
Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia.
Parkinson, correct. Yeah, what Michael J. Fox suffers from. Yeah,
my dad was diagnosed in 2015.
Yeah, this is a big issue, and it is getting worse and worse. Autism and stuff like that, so is maybe connected to that, and to the lack of
electrolytes.
Not electrolytes, amino acids. Yeah. So this is another great part. So the thing is, do you have these essential amino acids or whatsoever? So the thing is, and this ultimately comes back to what we have been talking before, is it is as long as someone has enough food, yeah, he will not go on the streets and riot and revolt, because he's mentally and physically fed up. So he's not hungry. He doesn't. So think of that. If you have problems, if you don't know if you have something to eat tomorrow, and you see what's going in the world, you might think, okay, maybe it's time for a revolution, yeah, and something like that. So, but if you have your burgers, if you have your cars, if you cannot afford, but you lease them, and you do you call it leasing in English too? So
yeah.
Okay. So so that's what's happening. As I said, everything is intertwined. People drive cars, live in houses they cannot afford. They eat food all day long. So they say, hey, what's wrong? It's cool. I have a job. I have my pickup truck and I have food all day long. But it's not quality food. It's not a quality life. And it is by all means, look at everybody can do what he or she wants, but look at the men. They are not men anymore. They look like women. The women look like men. And so think of reproduction terms, for example. The fertility of men is dropping. It is, this is insane. So if this story continues in the next 20 years, there won't be any more humans, but maybe this is the goal. I don't know. I know nothing about the Georgina Guidestones, so so you see everything
Georgia Guidestones, for those of you guys that are interested in that, and you know, I'm not sure how much truth there is to those. Even if they were completely made up, it's great marketing. You know, if you were the type of person who wanted to decrease the world population and you wanted a whole bunch of free marketing, you could spend some money putting up some giant stones to get people, you know, give them some fear porn so that they're all running around talking about the narrative that you want to create, and they're doing the law of attraction work for you, you know. And you know, I don't know if anyone really knows at this point, but another thing that you brought up that's pretty important is, like, when we are fed, we tend to be content, you know, with the status quo. As long as we've got, in this case, like with Corona, as long as we have the money coming in from the government and there's food in the grocery stores for a lot of people living in big city centers, everything is fine. Well, if we don't know and learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. When you look at the genocides that have taken place throughout human history, it wasn't the majority of them were not from shuttling people into concentration camps. Like, yes, that happened. I get it, right? But the majority of genocides, when you look at strictly numbers, it was starvation. It was that they didn't have food.
Famine,
and it was famine. So if you want to truly be protected and have sovereignty over your body, your freedom, you need to control your food supply. And if you only get your food from the local grocery store, or you order it online, guess what? You don't have that control, and you are susceptible to any of the BS that could come down the line. You know, this is part of the reason that I just got a homestead, and I'm going to be growing my food, and I'm going to have some animals, right? I see you kind of nodding. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, correct. And this is something that has been working for for thousands of years. And the Romans called it panem et circenses, which is Latin and means bread and games. So that you keep the, how from their perspective, the slaves, the low-level life scum, entertained. And you feed them cheap food. So, and metaphorically, the bread is good because bread is cheap to make and it does not deliver a lot of nutrients. So, and as you said, this is a very important point, and this is what everybody should do to regain their own sovereignty. So, because we are living in the world where you cannot, or at least you're told that how can I share it in the, you have to see an expert for everything. You cannot do your taxes alone. You have to see a tax consultant. You have to see a lawyer. You have to go to a doctor. You even cannot repair your car because it's so complicated just to turn one switch. You have to disassemble the whole car. So, and you are told that you are nothing. You are just a little piece of nothing floating to expanding universe, so to show you that you are nothing. But when you realize that, I mean, I don't want to go into this God stuff because you can, you never know who's hurted with God stuff.
I believe in God. I believe in a higher power, and
for sure,
I'm fine with that. I don't push it on anybody.
Maybe when I just wanted to say, maybe when you realize that, let's say, at least some part of the divine lives within you, and you are a fraction of this divine. Let's put it this way. What will happen? You will say, hey, maybe I'm not that worthless, and maybe it's not about what car I drive or so, because I am. So, and you stop maybe. I come to the point of just maybe you stop judging other people, or maybe you stop judging yourself, because you say, hey, I'm doing the best job I can, because Anthony cannot be Bernd and I cannot be you. So I cannot judge you as a human being, because how could I? There's only one you and only one me. So we come back from this judging and start more of saying, hey, if I judge you, maybe it's just mirroring some unconscious things I'm dealing with myself. So, and to come back to this question of sovereignty is that I think it's a really good thing you're doing, because you are, let's say, when shit hits the fan, you can be autark. You have food, you have something
Water
to drink, and so you can stay at home and reflect and say, okay, what's going on now? What are the next steps? You don't have to smash someone's head with a rock because of a can of dog chow or something like that, because you don't have something to eat at home. But you're not told stuff like that in school. You don't know which mushrooms you can eat, which trees you can use, and how to raise and slaughter an animal. So, and stuff like that, basic stuff, which plants do exist, and stuff everything should learn. I mean, you learn something about the solar system and planets. Okay, let's say there is something like a planet. So what is the chance that you will ever put a foot on Pluto? But how are the chances that you are hiking through the forest and you see some mushrooms? Hey, I would not eat the mushroom because I don't know if I can eat it or I can't eat it. So it's basic knowledge we're not told in school. We're told all bunch of stuff, what kind of animals lived in the Mesozoicum or Precambrium or whatsoever. So what can I do with that? Nothing. So most people don't even know how to start a fire. And I don't know if it's true, I've heard that in some states of US it's illegal to collect rainwater. So it is made.
But we're free. We're the land of the free, the home of the brave, but you can't collect rainwater.
So and that leads us to the government thing. I mean, when people say no, if you break a law, you broke a law. I mean, if the law is stupid, I mean, it is a difference if you're a child rapist or child trafficker, or if you're collecting rainwater. So there's a big difference for me, and. So think of that. Biohacking is a linguistic thing too. So people should
speak a little bit to that word too. After you finish the sentence that I cut off, my apologies. But you mentioned the etiology of the word government. Maybe you could fill our listeners in on that. That was before we started recording.
So when you think of the English language, what it is, it's basically a simplified version of Latin. So, and you can see this in everyday's words. For example, the term government. What is government? It consists of a pre and a suffix. So to govern in Latin means to control, and the suffix ment in government, it derives from Latin mentis, which means a mind. So actually, or literally, the term government means control of the mind. Or let's say you subscribe something, then you subscribe, you write under something. Or if someone says, did you understand? Yes. And you say yes, then from an energetic point, you stay under him because you understand. You don't comprehend. You understand. So it's a difference between comprehension and understanding, for example. And so this is just two examples. And for example, this is a good one. So like think of Hollywood. What is Hollywood? Hollywood is the holy wood. That's why they call it the dream factory, because you have this how do you call it? The rod, magic rod. The
magic wand, like a magician's
wand. Oh yeah,
wand.
Correct. Correct. A wand. Yeah. So it's a holy wood, and we all know that there's some weird stuff going on in those circles. And so it is hiding in plain sight. So, but if you're not, as I said, if you don't have this information, you cannot do anything with it. And what is information? Information puts you in a formation. So you get something that we call information that could be good or bad, but it puts you in a formation how you see the world, and you cannot see the world how it is. You can just see the world how you are at a certain point of your life. And I think it was Muhammad Ali who said, when you see the world with 50 the same as you saw it with 20, you wasted 30 years of your life. Mm-hmm. So, and I think this was a good one.
I think so as well. And like to just kind of round this out, you know, the people that I believe will really thrive in the coming months and years are the people that do secure their own source of water, their own source of food. You know, they have a gun legally, of course, and you know, they're strengthening bonds within their family, within their community, and with God. And why God? Not because I care. I'm not talking about any particular religious doctrine. I'm talking about your connection to the higher power that connects all of us and is within each one of us. That is what allows for faith. The faith to move forward when we don't necessarily know everything, when there's still some uncertainty in the world, but you have an understanding that everything will be okay and everything that is happening for you is meant to be occurring, and it will foster and support your evolution. I think that's kind of like the foundational tenets. And you used a phrase that I really liked before we started recording, which was heal pain, you know, or maybe you could explain that a little bit and your perspective on it.
I don't know if this is a correct translation, heal pain. What I mean with this is,
it's like growing pains, right? Or like birthing pains.
Yes, it is something that is at the moment, it is pain. What we coined the phrase, it is painful. What is pain? I mean, pain is just sensors in your body telling you that something's going on. So if in a car, for example, you have this signal going on, hey, oil pressure is not okay, you would not say, hey, this fucking lamp is broken. No, it's not the lamp. The lamp is just showing you that something is going on. So it was you who did not fill up the oil in the car, and so maybe it's going to explode, but it was not the fault of the signal. Mm-hmm. So, but this healing pain is something you need right now. But at the moment, you don't have the capacity to say, okay, or most people don't have reached the point where they can say, okay, I don't know what it is good for, but it will bring me somewhere. And in the perspective, then you can say, okay, this was necessary. Let's keep it short and simple. You split up with a girlfriend or a wife or whatsoever, and then you say, oh no, I'm really down, I love her, I will kill myself, and so, but it was a good thing because you split up because it did not work. So, and maybe now you don't realize what it was good for, but if you would not have split up with this girlfriend, you would never have met your dream woman or something like that. Just to have a really simple example. And this is what in a bigger picture, what's going on right now is we are squeezed through this bottleneck right now, and I think not all of us will come out of this. Some will be left behind. I don't want to be rude or something like that, or say, I agree. But it is and has always probably been the survival of the fittest, and fittest does not always mean that physically fitted, but also mentally. And heal pain
survival of the wisest.
Oh yeah, well, then we would have to define the term wise, but I get what you want to say. So the thing is, well, some people are you cannot help everyone, but then ultimately the question arises, maybe if everyone is a part of myself, I'm a part of everyone, and so if I help someone else, I help myself. But we live in a world where you say, hey, you must help others, and you do this. And I always tell people, no, from my perspective, first of all, you must act in a positive egoism. So that means, first of all, it's about you, because when and let me explain, this does not have to do with selfishness. It has to do with if you don't have enough energy, you cannot help someone else. And you don't help yourself and someone else when both of you die. So think of that. When you're in an airplane and those masks are dropping down, what do they tell you? First, you put the mask on yourself to get enough oxygen, and because then you're able to help others. So if you don't put the mask on and you pass out, maybe you pass out, the one next left and right to you. So 3 people die. So when you put it on, you will probably survive if it's due to oxygen, and you could save 2 other lives. So first of all, it is good to give something back, and this is really important. But first of all, you must have 120%, and then you can think of giving away those 20%. Because if your battery is running on 20% and you give away the 20%, so the other person maybe has now 40%, which is not enough to survive, and you have 0. So both of you will end up fucked up.
This episode of the Biohacking Secrets Show is brought to you by Veritas Farms and their full line of CBD products, CBD standing for cannabidiol. Now, we are real excited about this partnership because Veritas means truth in Latin, and we are big believers in bringing you guys the truth, not just through this podcast, but by making sure that any products that we share or that we bring on as sponsors are products that we personally use, believe in, and endorse ourselves. And that is the case with Veritas Farms and their full line of CBD products. The reason that they're so great, they are full spectrum hemp products, meaning that they have all of the beneficial phytonutrients that you get in a quality CBD product. 99% of the CBD products on the market are CBD isolate, and they're just being resold, meaning they're coming from a few small manufacturers. They've only got one tiny part of all of the important phytonutrients that you need to get the benefits you want from a CBD product, and they're just a bunch of different companies reselling them. Veritas Farms is vertically integrated, meaning they own the farm. They ensure that there are no pesticides being added. It's organic, and then they control the entire process from harvesting to extraction until that product ends up at your door. That's what I love it. It's kind of like farm to table, but for CBD. And the benefits that I've noticed, my sleep is better. I feel like I get a deeper, more restful night's sleep. I'm less stressed. I never have periods of anxiety. I feel calm and focused throughout the day. And it even decreases inflammation when I have flights or other things where inflammation is an inevitable part of life. You take a little extra CBD and it can be very helpful for stress, anxiety, sleep, and that inflammation. So if you guys want to check it out, we've arranged a 15% discount for you guys. To get that, you can go to theveritasfarms.com/biohacks. I'll spell it out. THEVERITASFARMS.com/BIOHACKS to save 15%. Check out the Veritas Farms CBD. You guys are going to absolutely love it.
That's a fantastic analogy. Like I'm seeing, and I'm guilty of a lot of this myself. But when this started, and I kind of smelled BS right away, and I think a lot of people did, especially listeners to our show. You imagine this plane going down, right? And the oxygen masks drop. And I think what a lot of people were doing is, first they're running around and they're seeing people that aren't putting on their masks, and they're going, the plane's going down. You need to put on your mask. And the people are going, get out of here, you conspiracy theorists. And they're like, no, I'm just trying to help you. The plane's going, can't you see it? And they're like, get out of here. I'm enjoying my flight. I'm watching my Netflix.
I'm on my vacation, bro.
Yeah. And then, and then they're like, okay. Well, then at least let me put the masks on my family members and friends. The strangers don't get it. They're pissed, but my family members and friends will get it. They're trying to put it on them. But it's just like, no, first you put it on. People will see that you can breathe. They'll get an idea of it, and then they'll be able to learn. So it's like, we gotta start with ourselves before other people can be expected to even register what needs to take place and how it's going to impact them. And it's like, I heard this example, a guy gave, Owen Benjamin gave this example. He goes, imagine like the NFL Combine for the Patriots. Right. He goes, imagine at the combine, you got like a lot of the stars of the team. They're running like a 4.2 40 or a 4.4 40. Right. And then there's some people at the combine and they're running like 6-second 40s. Right. The Patriots aren't going, how do we get the people running 6-second 40s to run it faster? You know, they're focusing on the people that are already running the fast 40s. And those are the people that get a lot more energy and attention. Some people are just slower. That's the way the world is, right? If you obsess about trying to get the people who are a little bit slower to run faster, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Focus on yourself. And then the people that you're meant to positively impact and influence, you know, they'll start to see you living it and they'll be inspired to do so themselves.
Yeah. And so this is where I always encourage people and say, hey, you never know who's looking up to you. So when you're depressed and say, I don't have this, I only driving in German calls, it's a 3er BMW, then you have a 5er, 7er, series and 8. So let's say you drive a 3er BMW and say, I would drive a 5er. And then you buy a 5er and then you say, I would buy, there's a 7 and an 8. So there will always be someone who's taller, richer, better looking, faster and something like that. So if you compare to this, you will never be happy. So of course you can be a stronger version or a faster version. Let's say if you want to train for speed due to whatever reason, so maybe it's you like it, you can get faster, but you will probably never be the fastest human being on the planet or the plane or whatsoever it is. So but as you said, Anthony, and I totally agree, is you can all only live your life and be a let's say a role model. So people follow by advice. They don't follow when you tell them do this, do that. But if you, and there's a really funny thing Charles always said is, you cannot believe a virgin sex therapist. So he might read the Kama Sutra and tell you, yeah, you got to do this and you put this into that and so on. And you say, yeah, okay, but he's still a virgin. So what he's going to tell me, he might read 1,000 times of the Kama Sutra, but it's not the real deal. Yeah. And there's another analogy that I really like is you see two pigs and they're eating and they are fenced. And one of the pigs takes its head out of this thing they're eating from, and it says, well, I've wondered if the butcher and the farmer are working together. And he says, okay, shut up and eat yourself. So, and that's the same. So some people cannot be helped. And I must confess, it makes me angry when we get coined at conspiracy theories. But when you say, okay, let's say 10 years ago, when I looked at the sky, I saw something totally different. And you're automatically, blah, blah, blah. We're just trying to help people. We're not saying it's this or it's that. But some people, they cannot be helped. But then they come
not
to
saying
you.
These are all the answers. Just saying, like, if some things deserve a little bit more inspection. And I think where a lot of people cut themselves off, as I keep cutting you off unintentionally, is, and maybe I've had a little bit too much coffee today, where I think a lot of people cut themselves off from a lot of opportunity to understand the world better, is needing to understand everything. You know, if there's no room for mystery and we have to have a narrative for everything, some things we just don't know yet, right? There's a little bit of mystery to them. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then you may find yourself seeking out bullshit.
And that's what a truth seeker is ultimately about. If you want, you will never come to the point, I think, where you know everything, because every answer, every question you answer for yourself will ultimately pop up 10 new ones. And but this is stay curious. I mean, this is just stay curious, and you cannot know everything, and there's no need to know everything. And when you're the smartest person or human in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. So, but now I got it. What I wanted to say is, people, I don't want to use the word understand, but I can understand why people do not want to be told stuff like that. Maybe they
can empathize with it.
The thing is, it is like in the movie The Matrix. So let's think you're 50 years old, 60, 70, and someone tells you stuff like that. Then you ultimately come to the point where you must realize that maybe a lot of stuff you believed in is wrong or was wrong. So would you not rather stick? It's in the how this guy who betrays Neo and his friends says, I'd rather eat the steak in the Matrix than eating this amino acid whatsoever, the glibbery foam they eat in the real world.
It was like porridge.
Yeah, some kind of that. Yeah, so with whatsoever. And he says, no, I want to go back in the Matrix, be famous and stuff like that. So, but I don't know why. I've always been rather Roddy Piper in They Live, where he puts on his glasses and sees the real world. Yeah. So, but I can understand that it is like a punch in your face when you see what the reality is, but we don't know what reality is. I'm totally fine if this is a hyper-realistic simulation. I don't know, maybe a Sims game on a PlayStation 15. I don't know. So who knows? Yeah.
Right. You are an inventor. And you've created something really cool. It's not often in the health and fitness and biohacking world that there's something that I not only haven't seen, but haven't used myself. Tell us a little bit about what you invented, why you invented it, and how it works.
Okay, you're probably referring to the bamboo bench I invented. So it is not made of bamboo. It's just the name because I like the metaphor of a bamboo because it's rigid yet flexible at the same time. It is a device. You can Google that and you will see pictures of it, but I will describe it if you only hear it now by audio. It is, think of kind of a, do you know those pool noodles? You can swim in the pool.
Yeah.
So it's something similar to that, but the structure is like a U that's standing on its head. And you can attach that with Velcro straps, so it's 1 meter long. You can attach it to pretty much any bench or machine. It doesn't matter if it's incline, decline, flat, or whatsoever. And the problem is when you are performing bench presses, and you are lying on a device or machine, your shoulder blades are blocked. And this will lead to a biomechanically disadvantage because you have a rotator cuff, and the shoulder joint has a really great range of motion. But to enable that great range of motion, the joint is secured through ligaments mostly and muscles. So it is the socket is literally, it is too small for the head of your upper arm bone, to keep it simple. So, and when in your what's it called in English? The subacromial room is very, very tight and narrow. So, and there it has to fit in a lot of things. So it's tendons, ligaments, bursa, and stuff like that. So, and it's actually from your supraspinatus. It's one of the muscles of your rotator cuff. You can type that in and you see pictures of that, goes through this, and then you have the tendon of your long biceps head. And it's so narrow that when you're performing bench presses and you have an abduction of your arm and then you're pressing, doesn't matter if it's a closed chain or an open chain with dumbbells or barbells, you cause friction, and this will sooner or later, depending on the load and the frequency you're training with, to problems, pathologies like the infamous impingement syndrome, frozen shoulder, where you have problems in an abduction between 60 and 120 degrees, and with lateral raises, overhead pressing, and stuff like that. So, and the bamboo bench, what it does, it narrows down the space you're lying on, so which ultimately makes it more challenging for your central nervous system, because the perturbation or the is greater. But you get used to it. So the drop off using a bamboo bench is not that high to a used athlete who's used to train with instabilities like an earthquake bar or stuff like that. So the drop off is maybe 10 kilos. So this would be, I don't know, 20 pounds or something like that. And what it does, it narrows the space down. You have more freely moving shoulder blades. Then you have a greater range of motion, which could recruit more muscle fibers depending on your flexibility and on the width of your clavicula and stuff like that. So due to your anatomical structure. And it's a new challenge for central nervous system, as I mentioned before. So to make a long story short.
It's a fascinating piece of technology. And like I've done, what excites me about it is like I've done certain types of training where if I'm doing, say, like a dumbbell bench press, where I'll only use, let's say I'm working like my right pectoral, I'll move most of my body off the right side of the bench. So like the right edge of the bench is pretty much aligned with my spine. And then I have the dumbbell in my right hand, but then I need to engage my core and my legs to maintain that stability. And, but I can only do one side at a time. Right. So it's a fun exercise, but in a world where we're increasingly busy and, we have, especially if you get into a daily routine that involves stress management and adequate sleep and food. And it seems like what the bamboo bench, one of the benefits, beyond just helping people with frozen shoulder, is that it would allow me to do that type of training, but I can do both sides at the same time, effectively achieving a similar benefit and CNS stimulus in half the time. Is that accurate?
I don't know if it's half the time, to be fair, but it's a Pareto principle approach. So the most bang for your buck, where you say, okay, I want to perform flat bench presses or on the machine, but I want to have the same innate biological and biomechanical structure that you have, for example, doing flies on the cable pulley or dips or push-ups. That's how it's meant to be, because when you perform an abduction of your arm, it's not only your rotator cuff that's working, but it is also your scapula, your shoulder blade, and they are working in a specific natural manner. So that means the first 30 degrees of abduction is mostly scapular movement, and then it's rotator cuff. But if it's not working properly, misaligned due to adhesions or restricted range of motion, or blocked parts of those structures who should initiate the abduction of an arm, it is, let's say, suboptimal. And it could lead to pathologies. And if you talk to bodybuilders, powerlifters, it could. And even weekend warriors who perform bench press more than, let's say, twice a week, they all suffer to some kind of those pathologies.
Yeah. Who are the people that end up getting that end up investing in the bamboo bench most often? Is it people with frozen shoulder? Is it bodybuilders? Who are the folks that typically pull out their wallet and invest?
Okay, now I don't sell it myself anymore. I'm still the owner of the patent, but I have a company. I have companies around the world who sell it for me. So it is, as I said, everyone. So due to that fact, the price is 99 euros. So I don't know, this is maybe $100 or something like that in dollar. So it's an affordable price. So we could bring the price down so everybody could buy it. So it's literally the weekend warrior who just wants to have a better feeling because he says, well, I know I don't have pathology yet. I don't know what a pathology in a shoulder looks like. I just want to have a nicer performance. Then it's, of course, people who strength and conditioning coaches, get to know from courses from Charles, for example, and this is how it all started and how it spread like a virus. And so there's no limitation. Let's say when you are a professional powerlifter, you have to train sport specific. So when you're going to a meet, how they call it, you have to bench in a certain way with a certain arch and so on. So you could not use it on a competition day, but you can use it in let's say, for example, accumulation phase where you lower the load. So you go, the intensity goes down and the volume goes up. So you're more, when you do a periodization of wave loading, for example, you're in accumulation phase, in the hypertrophy phase. So it can literally be used by everyone. So someone who is in a prehabilitation or in a rehabilitation phase, let's say you already had a torn supraspinatus or other muscles of the rotator cuff, then you can use it because you can use lighter loads and learn new movement patterns in your brain. So you build up new or old connections from your central nervous system to the motor unit, which is actually the smallest unit, functional unit. So that means you can tell the muscle, hello, I'm the nerve, I'm your dendrite, and this is, let's say, 10 muscle fibers, number 1 and 10, 1, 2, 3, up to 10, you all have to fire now. That's what it's called in terms of, and what wires together fires together. So in a prehabilitation phase, there's a trauma that was created to a car accident or whatsoever, and then you have to tell the brain, okay, now it is safe to move the arm in this angle with this load, and there will no harm occur. So you have to retrain your brain that is safe to do these movements.
Very cool. I'm always impressed at individuals such as yourself who, German is your first language?
Yeah, correct.
German's your first language. English, second language?
Yeah.
And your vocabulary is very impressive. Especially, it blows me away. Like I can barely get by in Mexico with my Spanish, and you're talking about the erector spinae and all these very
Well, thank you first of all, and I also speak some other languages. But the point is,
now you're just showing off.
No, yo hablo un poco de español también. Je parle un poco de français and so on. And but the point
you're no
is,
dummy.
No, but actually, for me, it's a gift and it's a curse for me. And because. Yeah. Okay. Let's skip that. The thing is, why I'm using those terms is not to accumulate those terms to sound intelligent, but I'm using those terms because then people can type it into a search engine and then can look themselves. So I'm using an international language of special terms. In this case, it is sport-specific terms and sports science. So people don't have to believe me. They can look up what is a rotator cuff, what is a supraspinatus. They don't have to know it and to get the whole thing, but they can look it up. So they can say, okay, what pearls of wisdom is he dropping there? Yeah, it's just vocabulary, and knowledge does not have to do anything with intelligence, from my point of view.
Yeah, I think our listeners very much appreciate you doing that, and there's a lot of wisdom bombs in this episode so far. I want to give them one more if you're up for it.
Yeah, sure.
We talked about one of the diagnostic tools that you've utilized and that is utilized by Dr. Diedrich Klingart and a number of other people that involves spectrophotometry. Is that the proper terminology? Can you explain a little bit about that technology and how you use it as a diagnostic tool to then sort of obviously diagnose, but then also to track and monitor progress over time?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Okay. How does it work? How do you use it?
Okay, first of all, I have to say I'm what in Germany is called Heilpraktiker, which means literally translated would be heal practitioner. This is, I mean, a something like in English or in America is like a complementary or alternative medicine practitioner. That means it is something like a medical doctor, but so I'm allowed to diagnose and treat diseases with restrictions. And I can do invasive stuff like injections or infusions and stuff like that. So this is my background. So I use a device called OligoScan, and now it's called SO-Check, SO/check. And it uses a technology. It's a non-invasive technology where you get a super fast overview over your body. It tests so, by the way, I'm not involved in the company. I'm just explaining the device because I'm using it. So it tests the 15 most important heavy and light metals. So, for example, a light metal would be something like aluminium. And it tests the 21 most important minerals in your body. So, and then you get ratios, and it tests vitamins, some B vitamins, vitamin D, D, A, K, and E. So you get a pretty fast, non-invasive overview over your intoxication of heavy metals. And then you have a range where you see, okay, you're how much of lead, how much of, what's it called in English, mercury, how much aluminum, whatsoever you have. And then you have on the other side, you have your mineral overview. I can show you. So this is maybe just people have an, I don't know if you can see this. So you get an overview.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, and this is, okay, so this starts with this is my intoxication. And there you can see, for example, I have a lot of aluminum in me. I love silver. What we have here, bismuth, cadmium, quicksilver is mercury, and bly is lead. So you have that range, and it tells you the 15 most important toxins. And then you see the same with the minerals. It looks a bit different. You have the most it starts with, calcium is calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, silicium, potassium is natrium. Then you have copper, zinc, chromium, iod is iodine, selenium, and so on. And then you have this would be 0. Then you have an optimal range, and then you see what what is your deficiencies and what is too much. And then you can see, for example, when you give recommendations to people who are looking for, food.
So you can address vitamin and mineral deficiencies. You can address heavy and light metal toxicities. Correct. One of the things that this is, I mean, you may have already noticed this, but this is interesting to me because aluminum is a challenging metal to detoxify for many people. And one of the ways that it can be detoxified from the body is silica. And correct. I noticed in yours, just at a quick glance while you were sharing with me, that aluminum was high and silica was low. Correct. So there you can see, and you can tell people, okay, you have this in your body, and because the body and the another important thing is you must. So it's not that easy. This is an overview, and you can tell people, but what you do not know if someone is a good or a bad detoxifier. So you could have intoxication, but let's say you have a very good your genes are compromised of glutathione S transferase, which is glutathione is a cascade in the body, but is the glutathione S transferase. So the suffix, if something ends with ASE, it is always an enzyme. So
glutathione S-transferase is the enzyme that breaks down toxins. Your endogenous, one of the most important endogenous enzymes, actually it's a whole cascade that breaks down toxins from the liver. So, for example, people who doing sport, who are eating healthy and are wealthy, and then at 60 they get cancer. And people say, hey, look at that moron. He was always promoting his Jack LaLanne power juicing stuff and so on. He was living in a healthy lifestyle and he still got cancer. So this is maybe due to the fact that this person or human like me, for example, is a rather bad detoxifier. So I have hardly an expressed genes of glutathione S-transferase. That means I'm a bad detoxifier. So I must do a lot of stuff to get everything that is or has accumulated over decades to get rid of it. So I grew up in a time where there was still lead in the gasoline, and so if it's in your body, if you stop your intoxication, it does not disappear. So there's something called a half-life. And when you have, I think cadmium, for example, has a half-life up to 30 years, 10 to 30 years. So that means if you're a good detoxifier, after 30 years, you got rid of the half of the stuff. So I'm doing a lot of stuff like coffee enemas and stuff like that.
I was just going to ask you.
To get
taking N-acetylcysteine, maybe some glutathione suppositories, or even nebulizing glutathione.
The question is if you take the whole glutathione, if the body can absorb it this way. But luckily, I can use infusions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, when I test the patient who comes to my practice, I can say, okay, this is in your this is in you, and maybe think of some chelate therapy. So you're familiar with the concept of chelate therapy?
Chelation therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. We use with a lot of our coaching clients, we'll use certain ETDA suppositories. Yeah. Sometimes we'll use oral DMSA as well.
So EDTA, for example, is a good detoxifier for cadmium. So, but for people who don't know, chelate is the Greek term for if you have a cancer, the animal and has is clams. Like, so this is the term for it.
A crab.
And so a crab, but the hands of a crab.
The pinchers.
Okay, pinchers. So are called chelate in Greek, in Old Greek, and so it means you have a heavy metal like aluminium, then you use or cadmium whatsoever, then you use a chelate, which is it binds it and then it makes it soluble, so you can pee it out over. It makes it it is water soluble. Then you can over your kidney tract, you can, or urine tract, you can flush it out. And then you can actually test that by a urine provocation test, it's called, and then you can see if the chelate therapy worked.
Do you see a connection or a correlation between what comes up in urine provocation test and what comes up using the spectra photometry with the SO-check machine?
Yes. So, and this is what gives me the validity and the reliability, because if I test you 5 times, it should be more or less the same.
Right. I was curious about that.
Yeah. So, and the funny thing is, I had a patient who has been working in one of the city's offices buildings, and they shut this building down because there was mold and there was a shitload of toxins floating around there. And we're talking about some things there. The range was up to 2, and some levels were over 1,000. So not a real big intoxication. And the funny thing is, I said, hey, bring me this testing result, which was done by an independent laboratory. And guess what? Almost everything they tested, everything they tested correlated with the intoxication of heavy metals with this client I tested. So, and also had other high levels, but they did not test, for example, for aluminum. But I would bet that is.
And this was this was with the Sochek machine?
Yeah.
So this is a lot of practitioners that are listening to this. Maybe if you're not familiar with the Sochek machine, it may be something worth checking out. Is it expensive?
It is. So again, I'm not involved in this company. I paid 3,600 euros for the device, and you have to pay for. I myself have to pay for every test I run with the client. But think of that. It is again a Pareto principle. I can draw blood, yes, but then you have to come. I have to draw blood. I have to take the blood, send the blood to the laboratory. Then it's highly questionable what the lab tested, because when the lab says the same with vitamin D, they test from 20 to 80. They say, oh, you're 21, for example, you're good. Yeah, but you're not. So, and then it takes time. It is invasive. If you do it with kids do not like it. Lots of people don't like it. And so, okay, maybe the Sochek, when you correlate with blood testing, it is maybe not 100% accurate. Maybe it's 98% correlation, but it's faster. It's non-invasive. I have the result within 10 seconds. Yeah. And yeah, this makes it for me convenient. Let's call it this way.
Very interesting. I'm curious to check it out and maybe have a test done or possibly even get one. And you saying that, I mean, obviously I have a lot of confidence in your processes and diagnostic tools. And then it also being used by Dr. Diedrich Klingart is only increases my confidence in its efficacy and reliability. I mean, this has been fantastic. I want to be respectful of your time. I feel like we may need to do a part 2 if people enjoy, some of the tangents that we explored. Is there anything else that you really feel like it's important for our listeners to hear right now, or that you'd like to kind of put out into the world?
Well, okay, if it was only one thing, I would say start questioning everything. And I mean, with everything, I mean everything. And for the other things, it was this, like Paul Chek says, this wonderful dance we performed right now. It was really, really cool. I really enjoyed the conversation with you. And I'm happy to go for another round. So because there's so much more things I use, frequency specific microcurrent stuff, like we can talk for so many hours. And if people like it, why not? I'm happy to go for round 2.
I am as well. This has been a lot of fun. And guys, if you enjoyed it, reach out to Bernd and let him know. Let me know. And if there's other amazing guests, that you'd like to have on the Biohacking Secrets Show, please don't hesitate to DM me on Instagram. Bernd, where's the best place for people to stay up to date with all the cool things that you're working on and stuff you have coming out?
Mm-hmm. Okay, you can go to my main website. This is just my name, BIRND minus, and then it is STOESSLEIN.de. So and there you can go to a fitness blog, and there you can click on English, and there are there are over 150 articles and more English stuff I write, and my articles are 2,500 words, so it's a lot of stuff to dig into it. But you can also just Google me or not Google, use a search engine of your you like, and
stop using Google.
Stop using Google and use Tor browser or DuckDuckGo or whatsoever, or Instagram. Yeah. This is the same name. You can find me, or you can find me on Facebook. Actually, I'm not a big fan of social media, but I have YouTube, I have Facebook, and I have Instagram. I'm
moving away from it as well. Is it BERND or BIRND?
BIRND. So like in E.
It's an E. It's an E. So
it's switched in German.
I got you. I was scratching out, and I was like, there's no way he misspelled his own name. So
no.
It's in English, BERND STOESSLEIN. Yeah.
But the A B C D E. Yeah. Okay. So E. No, but it is E. Your E. The
yeah.
Is E in German.
Yeah, E.
So, but our E is your I. So,
that's it. Then and
that's
there we have it.
It's confusing. So,
well, this has been an awesome conversation. You dropped a lot of knowledge bombs, and hopefully people made it through our Earth is not a spinning ball in space portion at the beginning to get to some of those golden nuggets towards the end. Yeah, Bernd, pleasure having you on, brother. We're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks for the listeners and viewers. And I wish you an energetic time. And yeah.
Likewise, brother. Guys, if you got value from this episode, please share it with your friends, family members, and coworkers, and leave us a review wherever you listen to the Biohacking Secrets Show. Thank you so much, Bernd. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful day.
What's up, guys? Anthony here, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Biohacking Secrets Show. One of my favorite things to do is helping men and women like you feel what it's like with the body you've always wanted and all-day energy that starts the moment you wake up and doesn't quit. Over the past decade, we've created a proprietary health assessment that helps me to identify the unique toxicities and deficiencies that may be holding you back from the life that you deserve. And what we've discovered in doing this with now thousands of CEOs, executives, professional athletes, businessmen, Hollywood celebrities, and entrepreneurs is that there's always room for improvement and optimization. Whether you're already performing at a high level or you have that feeling inside your heart that you're capable of more, the single fastest way to unlock your potential is to upgrade your mind and your body. And there's no program on earth that does that faster or to a greater magnitude than our one-on-one consulting program at www.biohackingsecrets.com/coaching. We start with our proprietary health assessment that screens you for vitamin deficiencies like A, D, magnesium, iron, etc., high cholesterol and heart disease, high blood pressure, digestive disorders, hidden infections like Lyme, Epstein-Barr, parasites, SIBO, Candida, and more that can just drain your energy in the background, especially if you don't know about them. Anxiety, depression, and cognitive disorders, autoimmune disease, adrenal fatigue, thyroid issues, mold toxicity, heavy metals, environmental toxins, and other genetic risk factors like MTHFR, APOE status, your glutathione production, and many more. We even recommend the specific tests that I use with my one-on-one clients if they're relevant for you in figuring out your biological age and identifying those key areas and opportunities that can take your life to the next level. From there, we create a customized game plan along with a personalized supplement protocol to help you optimize your weight and energy at the cellular level. And for our platinum clients, we even include a personalized workshop with me in Delray Beach, Florida. Most of the year, this program's full with a waiting list, but we just had a couple spots open up and I wanted to offer them to the listeners of the Biohacking Secrets Show first. So if you're interested in seeing what it might look like for us to work together, head over to www.biohackingsecrets.com/coaching. That's www.biohackingsecrets.com/COACHING and fill out the short application form. If you're pre-approved, you'll be given the opportunity to book a time to connect with someone on our team and see if it's a fit. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, and I look forward to potentially going on this journey together.